that was breakthrough. And
Right.
some profound lyrics in there. You probably heard, prison is a slave trade to keep us reminded, crucial consignment, mental confinement, oppression and inequity that's equally bonded, recession of economy, increasing the violence, which is sort of what you were talking about, police committing genocide and keeping it silent. You know, these are systemic issues that you guys are pointing out, and you're pointing it out with music. You're pointing it out with kind of a light touch. Again, having women deliver these messages for the most part. Again, that was the songwriters. That was Abraham's vocal on that one. I just want to wind up somewhere where we can imagine making something better. So we've done a great job so far. You guys have all done a great job so far of describing the scene and painting a picture for us about the injustice, mass incarceration, the inequity, and the fact that this thing has to change. So let's talk just a little bit about what we can do, what our audience can do on behalf of this issue.
Well, I'm very excited about the Breathe Act, which is sweeping legislation that's being designed by Representative Presley and Representative Tlaib and a broad coalition of civil rights activists, really doing what must be done now, which is to translate the largest social movement and street protests that America has ever seen into concrete systematic change. So that work is being done, and I hope that people can learn about it and get inspired by it and get behind it, help elect enough people to pass it. You know, I not only do I think we have to vote, all of us, this next election and every election, in order to mitigate damage. I think we are being given an opportunity, you know, by these incredible forward-thinking legislators to really make seismic change. It's called the Breathe Act, and I really hope we can rally together as a society and get it passed.
Yeah. Is there a place, Ani, where we can go and learn more about the Breathe Act? Is that something that's easy to find?
Yeah, totally. It's breatheact.org, or, you know, put
Easy.
Breathe Act in your Google search and you will get tons of information.
Yeah. And so I really want to congratulate all three of you, and of course everyone else who participated. Lots and lots of people participated in this project. A lot of musicians, a lot of singers, engineers. And the Prison Music Project is a beautiful way to raise awareness around this fundamental problem that we need to address. How would you define success when you think about this project going out into the world like one of your babies, and you're sending it out into the world? How would you define success for this thing in terms of what do you hope comes from this specific project? Maybe Zoe, you could answer that.
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, what I wanted was to bring these stories and these words out and give them the biggest platform I could, because I could see the impact that they were having was just, this really humanizing impact. And ultimately, I think, like with the Breathe Act, which is being written by and sponsored by, pushed forward by Black women mostly, we need to be centering the people who are most impacted by these oppressive systems. And that's really what this album aims to do. And so, you know, we made it. And it's, you know, voices of people who've been seriously oppressed for a long time by this system. And we want people to hear it. And beyond that, what I hope is, I guess for this movement in general in this time in the world, is that we learn to especially as white folks, actually, is to listen to the people who are most marginalized and to believe them when they're telling us that they have been victimized by our systems that keep a very small percentage of our population safe, and to believe them when they tell us that those systems need to change and we need to try to listen without being defensive. And I want to say about restorative justice, I'm reading this book right now called Beyond Survival, and the authors, which are femmes of color, talk about how transformative justice and restorative justice, so similar concepts, have been used perhaps without those terms, without those names, in communities of color for a long time, because in communities of color, people don't want to call the police when harm is done because they know that police are just going to come and cause more harm, even to the people who are calling them. And so a lot of folks of color have come up with other systems to address harm. And so that's exactly why these are the communities that we need to be listening to and looking to lead us to a place of greater and more equal liberation.
For me, success around this record often comes in little moments like when I accept a call from Spoon and I hear excitement in his voice and he's like, we're in the LA Times today, you know? And just to feel people who are either in prison or have been in prison like you, Nathen, be able to use the pain that they've experienced, the suffering that they've undergone, and transform it into something powerful and beautiful and help teach people and change things, you know, is I really, that to me is success right there.
Yeah.
Whether anybody in the greater world taps into what we've created or not.
That's great and powerful, you know, because ultimately, you know, you've impacted people who've participated in this already. So, I mean, you've already got an awful lot to be proud of. I just want to remind you of that. So we will leave it there. We'll make sure that we educate ourselves about the Breathe Act. We make sure that we do our best to try to find the empathy and the opportunity to get to know what's really going on. I don't know if there are other chances for people to communicate with. I know we get a fair amount of mail from people who are incarcerated who listen to our radio show. And so I know there are ways that we can connect and do connect, but we can all do more.
Yeah, I just want to say that the trying to get rid of the prison complex is one concept, of course, in restorative justice. But I'm a full believer that this album can help spark the belief that people in prison are more than just the crimes they committed. Like and just like on my YouTube channel, Nate Dogg 916, I try to get the people to tell the stories of how they got to the crime, not what happened after the crime. You know what I mean? Like our childhood is what prepared us for our adulthood. Like, so what happened in our childhood is like basically what trained us to behave and act a certain way.
Yeah.
And I just believe that we got to start not just during and after, but before incarceration, before crime.
Yeah.
It's bigger than just we got to close all the prisons, in my opinion.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's way bigger than just there's too many people incarcerated. Obviously, there's too many people incarcerated, period, of color and not of color. You know what I mean? Because white's a color, so of color, all different colors. You know, so it's more than just getting everybody out. It's understanding why they're there in the first place.
Yeah. And that's
prison doesn't work. Prison does not work. Prison doesn't help people. Every man on this album that sounds like they're doing good and they're fixed. Prison didn't do that. They did that. Those men and women did that.
Yeah.
I did this. Nobody fixed me. I fixed myself. And I didn't fix myself because I wasn't broken. I just woke up and realized that I needed to live my life differently.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to weigh in on that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, Nathen, that's really important and powerful. And so, you know, in the spirit of like, what can we all do? let's not forget what your point is, which is this starts early. This starts with families. It starts with poverty. It starts with opportunity. It starts with education. It starts with racism. It starts with systemic marginalization. It starts with lack of mentors, lack of older males pointing a different path for young.
And females?
And females too, yeah. Yeah,
If you care, you got to care.
yeah.
Period. No matter who you are, where you live, if you care about what's going on, care. Don't just talk about it, care. Go care.
Yeah. Hey, Nathen, tell me your YouTube channel. How did we find that
Nate
again?
Dogg 916. YouTube, Nate Dogg 916.
Nate
Right
Dogg
there.
9.
Nate,
Nate
2
Dogg,
G's, 916.
2 G's. Nate Dogg with 2
Nate
G's,
Dogg
916.
916. 916 is the area code for Sacramento, California.
Yeah.
And it's only about positivity, and it's only about people telling their stories about how they got to prison and how they changed their lives after prison, and they're doing good now. There's no glorification of violence or the prison system at all.
Yeah. Zoe, Ani, Nathen, I learned a lot. I appreciate you sharing all of your stories with us here at eTown. Congratulations again, and thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Nick.